Hello friends, today I take up a new topic and the name of the topic is how tribal society was converted into feudal society in ancient India. My lesson plan includes introduction, Rigvedic period, later Vedic period, age of Buddha, modern period, Sangam age, Gupta period and period of Chalukyas, Pallavas and Pandyas in South India, and finally conclusion. Friends, if you like my channel, please share and subscribe AJIS Academy Indore. This is free channel. Friends, as you know that when our country was under foreign dominations, the foreign historians argued that the Indian society was non-changing society. That means a status quo society where no change occurred in its long history of 5,000 years. Friends, this is a wrong claim. This was a wrong proposition. In its long history, changes occurred in social life, political life, economic life, religious life and cultural life. Today I take up the changes in social condition in ancient India. Rigvedic period, it starts from 1500 BC to 1000 BC, when the oldest Ved, Rigved, was created. There are 4 Vedas: Rigved, Samved, Yajurved and Atharved. Other 3 Vedas were composed between 1000 BC to 600 BC, and this period is called later Vedic period. Now, Rigvedic period, what are its special features? Society was pastoral. It was tribal. There was no differentiation in the social position. There may be difference of rank, but there was no difference of social position. It was an egalitarian society. It was a semi-nomadic society where people wandered from one place to another place to seek livelihood. Raja was called Gopati or Gop because he was considered as the protector of the cattle. Cattle was the principal source of property. There was subsistence economy. There was no scope of surplus because during the Rigvedic period, people did not use iron. People gave voluntary gift, which was called Bali, to Rajan or king. The principal source of income was war booty. Artisan, peasants, priest and warrior class developed in Rigvedic period. Spoils of war and cattle constituted the main source of property. Society was egalitarian. Later Vedic period, this is the period between 1000 BC to 600 BC, and the period when 3 other Vedas, Samved, Yajurved and Atharved, were composed. During this period, there was rise of territorial states in sub-Sindhu areas like Gandhar. Aryans settled in the sub-Sindhu area, used iron in a limited scale, use of metal money was unknown, no taxation system developed during this period, no professional army was created by king, and he was provided militia by his people. Use of wooden plowshare and indiscriminate killing of cattle in sacrifices made it impossible to the peasants to produce much over and above their subsistence needs, and this in turn made it impossible for the peasant to pay regular taxes to kings. In the last phase of the later Vedic period, we see the emergence of Shudra along with Brahmin, Kshatriya and Vaishya. But society was still not crystallized. The differentiation between different birds had not become too much pronounced. Now we switch over to another period, age of Buddha, between 600 BC to 300 BC. And this is the period of the use of iron on the huge scale in Gangetic Valley. There started Aryanization, means adaptation of non-Aryan tribals into the Brahminical culture, urbanization and growth of towns in eastern India, transformation of egalitarian Vedic society into a caste divided society or burden divided society, where now complete differentiation started in social organization, where Brahmins were at the top of the hierarchy and Sudras were at the bottom. Now, because of the use of iron on huge scale, there was now surplus economy, and this led to the rise of so many Mahajanpads or kingdoms in India. And we know from Anguttar Nikaya that there were 16 Mahajanpad that rose during 5th and 6th century BC. And out of these Mahajanpads, the Magad came out victorious by annexing other kingdoms, and it established first Indian Empire in our subcontinent. This happened because of the surplus economy, where now people were in the position to give taxes to the kings, and kings could form a strong army to control law and order within its area and to fight out against the enemy kingdoms. Origin of big land holders, because now private property was valued, and big land holders in rural areas were called Gahapatis. The domination of Brahmins was very much detested by Kshatriyas, and this gave rise to Buddhism and Jainism in 5th century BC. However, ancient lawgivers stress upon composing difference between Brahmanas and Kshatriyas so that they can rule over other Varnas. In spite of differences between Kshatriyas and Brahmanas, lawgivers always stress upon unity between Brahmanas and Kshatriyas so that they can subdue other two Varnas, that means Vaishyas and Sudras. Now I switch over to another period that is called Mauryan period, the period between 321 BC to 185 BC. Megasthenes, who was the Greek ambassador in the court of Chandragupta Maurya, he said that there were 7 groups in Indian society. They were philosophers, farmers, soldiers, herders, artisans, magistrates and councillors. So It can be presumed that Megasthenes fully misunderstood the composition of Indian society. Again, culmination of social organization based on Varna and Ashram. Friends, 4 ashram stages of religious discipline emerged during this period, and that stages were Brahmacharya and Garhasth, Banprasth, Sannyas. So, in Hindu philosophy, life of a person was fixed as 100 years. Similarly, the life purposes of an Indian or a Hindu was fixed as 4: Dharma, Arth, Kam, Moksha. Dharma means people should do the work assigned to them as per the principle of Varna. Secondly, he should earn livelihood for the sake of the maintenance of his family. Thirdly, sexual pleasure in order to procreate children. And finally, salvation, free from the life and death. The status of cultivators gained prominence because of the expansion of the agriculture in tribal areas. Women were held in high position. They were employed as king's personal bodyguard and spies. Megasthenes claimed that slavery did not exist in India. Brahminical stance of untouchability became firm. Sangam age, this is the period between 300 BC to 300 AD in South India. So, between this period, what social changes occurred? Number 1, important classes were sages called Arivar, land owners, Vellalar, herdsmen, hunters, artisans, soldiers, fishermen and scavengers. Common practice of love marriage was allowed. Women were given the opportunity to select their life partners. Widows had a miserable life. Sati system was practiced in upper class of the society. Dancers were patronized by monarchs and nobles. Income from trade, war booty and agricultural produce enabled the king to maintain the group of professional warriors and also pay the wards and priests who were largely Brahmins. Brahmins occupied the most important position in Sangam age. They were lavishly rewarded and king regarded Brahmins as their true guides and philosophers. Warrior class was an important element in the polity and society of Sangam age. Civil and military officers were held by Bellals or rich peasants. The ruling class had a matrimonial relationship with the rich peasants and they held bulk of the land and got them cultivated by agricultural laborers. In addition, Vaisyas held an important position in the Sangam society. Artisans were not different from agricultural laborers. Their position was low. There was sharp social inequalities. In the Sangam age, the rich lived in the house of brick and mortar and poor lived in the huts. Emergence of Brahmanas and the ruling caste, but acute distinction among different castes did not exist in Sangam age. So friends, you see that with the passage of time, Brahmins emerged as the most important caste in South India during the Sangam period. But we must also note that along with Brahmanas, Buddhists and Jainas also occupied important place during Sangam age in South India, the period of Chola, Pandyas and Cheras. Now I switch over to Gupta period. The period is between 320 AD to 550 AD. Caste system became rigid. Brahmins held the highest position in the society, and this led to the emergence of priestly landlords in rural areas. The untouchability further spread in Gupta period. A spread of education and learning among upper classes. Rise of feudal lords and priestly landlords in India. Decentralization of power because of the emergence of feudal lords, and this led to the weakening of the central authority. Absorption of foreigners into Hindu society because of the large scale influx of Indo-Greeks, Parthians, Scythians, Kusans and Huns, giving rise to the origin of Rajputs who ruled India for next 500 years. Landlordism undermined the position of Vaisyas, weakened the military set of different kingdoms toward the centralized authority, increased the solidarity of clan and caste. So landlordism increased the solidarity of clan and caste, and it gave rise to localism and ghetto mentality among Indians who shunned all foreign relations with other countries of the world between 600 AD to 11 or 1200 AD, except Cholas. Period of Chalukyas, Pallavas and Pandyas. Each state had a number of feudatory chiefs, which were a small state within large state. March of triumphant Brahmanism, and this period is called as the power of Brahmins in the Deccan and South Indian politics, whereby Buddhists and Jainas were relegated to the background. Priests gained influence and authority through land grants. Many South Indian rulers claimed to be Brahmanas, like Pallavas or Western Ganga, Vakatakas. The position of Kshatriya and Vaisyas were not so much important in Deccan and peninsular India. So we see that in South and Deccan politics, the importance of Kshatriya and Vaisyas declined. Below princes and priests came the peasantry, which were divided into numerous castes. The kings like Bakatak, Pallavas, Kadam, Western Ganga adopted the title of Dharma Maharaja to enforce the burden system of society, which means that nobody should be allowed to deviate from the assigned duties. And Gautamiputra Satkarni of Satavahan dynasty boasts that he stopped the marriage between different varnas, thereby eliminating Varna Sankar, that means intermixture of caste through marriage. That's why the combined forces of Chalukyas, Pallavas and Pandyas suppressed the revolt by Kalbharas, who rose in rebellion against the domination of Brahmanas and temples. And friends, as you know that by the end of the Chola period, 3/5 of the lands were granted either to Brahmanas or temples in peninsular India and Deccan. And this caused great unrest among peasantry tribals who were called Kalbharas, and their revolt continued for 75 years, and finally these recalcitrant elements were crushed by the combined forces of Chalukyas, Pallavas and Pandyas. These three powers in Deccan and southern India fought among themselves for 200 years for the supremacy of their power. But when they were confronted with recalcitrant elements of Kalbharas, who were tribals and peasants, they combined together and crushed the revolt of Kalbharas. Conclusion. What conclusion I derived from this lecture? Number one, during the Rigvedic period, social formation was not crystallized. Society was tribal, egalitarian, pastoral. People walked from one place to another place in order to seek out livelihood. Pastoral society became agricultural in later Vedic period when they finally settled in the Sub-Sandhav area. That means the area of Indus River and its tributaries. In post-Vedic period, society became a class divided where domination of Brahmins was established, and Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra became 4 Varnas, whereas upper 3 Varnas were called Dvis because they had to go through Upanayan Sanskar, investiture ceremony. So Brahmin, Kshatriya and Vaishya were called twice born, whereas Sudras were left out. And all kinds of disabilities were imposed upon Sudras, who were meant to serve the upper 3 Varnas. During the modern period, the state power further increased. Many small kingdoms were assimilated. Magadhan Empire became the largest empire in India and the world. Kautilya exhorted the king to protect dharma, which meant nobody should be allowed to deviate from their assigned duties in the society. And so modern king is called Dharma Pravartak, the protector of dharma. Varna system became more intact. Emperor Ashoka asked people to pay respect to Brahmins and Sramanas, to give respect to elders in the society. He promulgated Vyavhar Samta and Dan Samta. Means in matters relating to criminal and civil matters, everybody is equal in the eyes of law. And this proposition of Emperor Ashoka was very much detested by Brahmanas. And there was a great reaction against this policy of Emperor Ashoka. And according to Har Prasad Shastri, this Brahminical reaction led to the downfall of modern empire and establishment of Sung and Kanva dynasty in northern India and Satavahan dynasty in Deccan, Pallavas in southern India. So at one time there were 27 Brahmin dynasty that were ruling in India after the decline and downfall of Mauryan Empire. During Kisan period between 200 BC to 300 AD, in northern India, Indo-Greeks, Parthians, Scythians, Kusans made inroad into India in large number, and since they had no ideology or religion, they were merged into Indian society, and since they had entered into India as warriors, they were categorized as Rajputs in Hindu society. During the Gupta period, landlordism developed in India, giving rise to decentralization of the authorities and a new class called feudatories below the king, who had become a state within a state. During Chalukyas and Pallavas in Deccan and southern India, huge number of land grants to Brahmins and temples led to the revolt of Kalbharas, which was suppressed by the combined forces of Pallavas, Chalukyas and Pandyas. So we see that the tribal society which emerged in the Rigvedic period in 1500 BC, now it was converted into a feudal society marked by dominance of priestly landlords and feudal lords, because now after the decline of Gupta period, we see that huge number of land grants were issued to government officials in lieu of salaries, and this development of landlordism in India, in North and South India, finally weakened the central authority of India, and this precarious, weak kingdoms were no match to the foreign invaders led by Muhammad of Ghazni and later on Muhammad Ghori.